Okay, good day to all our viewers. Thank you for joining once again. We are doing the next episode of On the Line, and right down from the coast, we have André Henn representing Kingfisher. And welcome with us today, André.
Thank you, Werner. Thank you for having me. All a bit of a frustrating time for all our anglers out there.
And especially if you've got good weather.
Yeah, especially if you live here at the coast and you're saltwater angler. Well, I'm sure the same for the freshwater guys. But if you see the weather lines up and you know there's certain fish that's going to bite now, that becomes a little frustrating.
I can imagine. Tell me, Andre, how's the lockdown going down at the coast? How's the anglers doing, and what is the general vibe?
From what I've picked up on social media, there's a lot of frustration everywhere, but the guys are actually adhering to it very, very well. One of our ambassadors provides a service on the beaches. He's on the beaches every day having a look at who's out of place, people that shouldn't be there, and he's guiding them towards the right direction. And he's so far found two groups of kids trying to fish on the Natal coast, and he explained to them clearly it's more a parent thing. The parents haven't explained to them exactly, so they're still out fishing. And it's a total of five, three kids the first time and two kids on the second time. But that's the only real incidents. Other than that, the anglers are actually adhering to it very well.
That's brilliant. So we can be really proud of our angling community. They are doing their part to flatten the curve.
Yes, no, absolutely.
Well, I can imagine with this build-up and being at home for quite a while, they are going to be wired up when they get out. It's like almost a prison break at the end of the time. So I can imagine everybody is on heated seats to get out.
Yeah, I think everything's going to be amplified. They're going to be wound up. You're just going to hear tires scream that first morning, and you're going to see the beaches as if it's some massive competition for millions of rands, I'm sure. And we're hoping, obviously, when that day comes, that the weather lines up. And I think that the poor fish won't know what's hitting them when that starts.
Okay, so come day release, what will be hot? What will be on fire at that time when we get out?
Okay, we still got the end summer fish, which for the shark anglers and the skate anglers, there'll be quite a few still around. Our seasons have moved on a bit. So fishing here on the Zululand coast, Eastern Cape, Natal, you'll still find those summer species, some sand sharks. And then this time of the year, the spinner sharks, blackfin sharks, pretty much the same, but they come through in bigger numbers. So for the shark anglers, that's quite exciting. Fishing for them, they're almost in the shark species. They are like our game fish of shark that you can target from the shore, because they jump and they've got an exhilarating fight. We always talk about a blackfin has got a small fuel tank. So it starts off with a turbo, but it doesn't have that endurance to give you a very long fight. And that depends on the size of them, obviously. If you hook a fish 80 kilos plus, you'll know about it. He gives you a really good fight and as well.
Now, in terms of the spinner sharks, I have never caught the spinner shark myself. So how do I go about and how do I prepare?
Okay, well, where you're going to look for them, looking from Durban north. Look, we get them from East London up on our coast. So in any of those areas, but here on the Zululand north coast area, Dolphin Coast, and some spots on the Natal South Coast and Durban as well, they get targeted quite a bit this time of the year. Now, it's all your deep water spots where you'll normally go look for sharks. So you're looking for nice deep holes or points, and you'll be putting nice big baits out, whole mackerel, whole bonitos, sawdust is probably one of their favorite baits. If you've got a shad or a bonefish, live bait obviously always works better, but even a dead bait. And you put that either on a slide trace, otherwise you make nice big mackerel head baits or bonito baits on long, what we call full metal jackets, which is a 1.5 meter, 2 meter steel trace. You'll be fishing 200 pound. I wouldn't go lighter than 200 pound, and you'll fish a 9-0, 10-0 hook minimum. If you're going to fish two hooks or a circle, you'll fish a 10-0, 12-0. the mustard, tuna circles. And yeah, you'll look at all of those spots, but a little tip I'll give on the blackfins is, look, they're infamous for jumping you off. In a lot of anglers' books, they're nemesis species. It's a difficult species to keep on the line and land him because he jumps so much. Now, when he jumps, he spins from the name, and he wraps your trace around himself, and he flexes his muscle, and he breaks your swivels, your trace, everything. So here's a little tip. Firstly, you want to extend your trace by putting a meter or meter and a half of your leader. You'll put steel rather than nylon, okay? And then secondly, when you're targeting them and you know there's a chance of you hooking them, you're going to fish a fairly loose drag. Not too loose, but fairly loose. That when you set that hook and he wants to take off, there's not too much tension, because he uses that tension. It sucks him up. He jumps out of the water and he spins you off because he's got enough tension on the line to spin it around and flex and break it. So if you fish a fairly loose drag, we've had a lot more positive results on that in keeping them on the line and actually landing them by just fishing a looser drag, at least for that first 10 to 15 minutes after he picked you up, so that he doesn't have that tension to break your trace. So that's just a little tip for the guys fishing for blackfins that can really turn your negative results on blackfins and spinners into a very positive result quite quickly.
On hook baits, what will you fish the blackfins with?
Any head, any bait fish's head, either mackerel, bonito, shad head, and you can put a bit of fillets on it. So you make a nice, fairly big as what you can cast. And your tackle wise with that, that's for the grinders. If you're using a grinder, you'll use a Saltus 8000 or a BG 8000, and you'll match that with a grinder elite or a tournament rod. And that's what I'll go and target them with. And on the sliding, you'll use a multiplier reel like the Saltus or Saltiga reels. Obviously, there for mono top shot for sliding, the braid doesn't slide well. And you'll use a Saltus 1428 heavy rod, which is a 14.28 foot multiplier rod, which you'll specifically be using for sliding. So yeah, and bait wise, really any bait, nice shiny baits. There's a lot of bonefish this time of the year. If you hook one of those, a nice 1 to 2 kilo, and you slide that, or you swim it live when they're bigger, a blackfin will not swim past that. It's a brilliant bait.
And how's the things with drones at the coast at the moment? Does that pick up your success rate?
Yeah, look, drones do give you an advantage. You can fish a lot of areas that rock and surf oaks can't get to the deeper water, and the blackfins love that just behind the breakers. So the drone anglers definitely will have an advantage in catching those blackfins and hooking them by dropping nice big baits. They also got the advantage of putting a bigger bait much further. So yes, for all the drone anglers, the blackfins are now a fish to target.
I must say that in the last couple of years, the spinner type or the spinning type rods and reels have picked up quite a lot of shark fishing excitement as well. Whereas in the past, multipliers were the thing, but nowadays, with the quality of rods and reels, it's no problem going there with spinning gear.
Yes, absolutely. It's actually a great progression of fishing. The reels didn't have the capacity and the drags that we required for the sharks and the bigger, stronger fish, but that picked up quite quickly for the last couple of years, and it adds to the sport. It really makes it a sport, because hooking those bigger and stronger fish on braid, being so direct, it shakes you around sometimes on the beach or on the rocks, and it really takes the level of sport fishing up. Yes, a lot of times by hooking them on multipliers, your bigger fish, you've got a better chance of landing them, but it takes you longer. And here's one of the positives of fishing with the grinders and the spinning gear is with the braid, it allows you to pull harder and land those fish quicker, which is better for the fish in the long run. Less lactic acid buildup, and the survival rate logically should be better than catching them on monofilament.
That's true. We've seen it now. We've gone up to the Kunene River and we fished that concession area that is now open for angling 100 k's from Angafria up to the Kunene River mouth. So we fished that and we got a lot of bronzies, up to about 120, 130 kilos. And we caught all of them or most of them on grinders. And it was lots and lots of fun. And well, obviously you didn't have to cast that far. You can go out 100 meters and get those nice big bronzies, and you can fight them hard.
Yes, you can pull them really, really hard with the gear. That's where the additional, the new knots we use, like the FG and all of that, plays a big role. Because you're putting so much more strain on your tackle, you need to make sure that your knots are the best knots you can get. Your terminal tackle, only use the best hooks, best trace material you can, and swivels. That's very important because that goes with braid. You're putting a lot more pressure, and the same with the rods. The rods are adapted, like, if I can mention the Kingfisher grinder leads is first of its kind with a type of parabolic action that was put into that rod. Because initially, a lot of the grinder rods, you'll see they bend from the bottom, so the whole rod plays part of that to absorb the directness of braid. But what's great from the Dawa team from overseas is they developed this rod where now still 60%, almost 60% of the action sits still in the top third of the rod. Now, what that does, it gives you a lot more pulling power from the bottom. You've still got that backbone you had with a multiplier rod, but you've got the same tip action sensitivity, which gives you better accuracy and also adds to your casting. So yeah, I love this new technology that comes through. It's great that fishing is evolving so quickly sometimes, and it brings all this great developments through to the market. It's really nice, and it adds value to our sport.
That's true, and we fished that grinder elite, the 14-foot grinder elite, and with a bionic finger, it's actually a pleasure to cast.
Yeah, I know they cast very easy. Really nice rods to cast.
André, tell us a little bit about the terminal tackle. Are you going to take us through and just show us how to actually prepare the rig or the front end, business end of the shark tackle?
Yes, I can do that. We'll make it for that, and I'll run you guys through that, how we do that.
For the 4Anglers viewers, you're going to click on the link below and watch the video. It will take you straight to the tutorial that André is going to show us. Enjoy that video. Now we are out of the summer season, going into winter. What can we expect?
Well, Vanna, there's actually now, it's so nice because right through the year, there's new exciting species coming through. So in Natal, everyone's always excited when the winter comes. It means Garrick, it means snook, it means kuta for the ski boat guys. And this time of the year, still the bigger kutas coming in, and a lot of guys will be catching them from the side in the next 2 to 3 months, especially the drone guys, but we see some rock and surf guys. But Garrick really stirs it up, and in the Cape, we know the 1st of March, the Galjoen season opens, so they're getting nice and fat while everyone's in lockdown. So I'm sure the guys are going to climb into that really nice species coming through now. And then further north in our Zululand area, there's obviously still South Coast. Let's start with that. There's a lot of the nice rock cod and winter edible fish coming in there. And in Zululand as well, that's what the guys will be targeting. The stumpy stay right through, pompanos, that they're coming through now, and they're going to the winter. So there's quite a few species we're looking forward to. And then obviously the cob in the winter year with the sardines, as well as Tugela, Mtanzini, those areas, the bigger cob starts moving in on the beaches. We actually saw some great catches now with all the rain we had, the rivers that opened every year and there. Unfortunately, it's not something you target right now, but the guys were getting some nice cob over 20, 30 kilos here in Natal as well, the odd one. Now in winter, you can actually go and target them, which is quite exciting.
Well, it's good you talk about that because incidentally, our current issue of Tight Lines, this was one of the cob that was caught by Johan Schreiling up in the Kuneni, about 26 kilos with bait. But also, there's a nice article about catching them on artlers and paddle tails. Now, 2 issues in a row. This specific one and the one coming up next, the May issue, is a bit of a cob issue with a lot of paddle tail and artificial lure fishing for cob. So the guys can go and look at 4Anglers and also get the Tight Lines. There's also going to be a couple of interesting videos coming up with that. Okay, but back to André. The Garrick, tell us about Garrick. How are we going to catch them? How do we prepare?
Okay, well, they backline fish. They're just behind that foam, so off your deep water point, you're in a towel. It's quite successful targeting them there. The guys will have different, actually lures in the ski boat guys, the spinning guys from the shore, and your normal conventional rock and surf anglers all start targeting the Garrick. And if you start with the spinning side of things, the guys will use poppers, spoons, bucktail jigs. They're using a variety of lures to target them in the mornings or afternoons, close to estuaries. The guys get really good results on the Garrick, and also in the harbors. Richards Bay and Durban Harbour will produce a lot of Garrick every year, where the people actually go and target them. And then also on the lighter tackle fishing, live bait with mullet, and on your heavier tackle sliding with shad and mullet. The shad season starts soon again. And that's how the guys will normally be out targeting them. So you'll slide, you'll either cast smaller live baits, or you'll set up a spinning kit, like for instance the Saltus 11.6. I've got a Mag Seal 4000 or BG 4000, and then you'll use 20-pound J-braid is what we use on there, and it gets really good distance with those rods. But it's also got a lot of backbone, these specific rods. In fact, this rod I used to catch a 60-kilo diamond, so just to see what the rod could do. And for Garrick, cob, the snook, all of that, while targeting Garrick, you'll get the snook in between and some of the other winter fish further down. In Transkei, the guys sometimes hook some tuna and stuff as well, which is now their season is kind of going out, but they're still in the winter because of the sardines. There's a lot in the Natal area. So, but yeah, for the Garrick specifically, that's what you'll need. You'll fish a bit lighter. I like, when targeting them, I fish a 0.55 fluorocarbon leader, which a lot of guys won't generally do. But for the Garrick specifically, I see them as actually a quite intelligent fish. Some people might differ from me, but the reason I say that, if you go target them in the estuaries, in small confined areas, you can see how they've become a lot more intelligent. There's also less movement of the water. So they'll leave you bait. They'll pick up a mullet, a live mullet, and they'll drop it if they feel the hook or your leader is too thick. I've seen it so many times and had it so many times. So yeah, we've also got we actually got some videos where we targeted them in Richards Bay now in the last season, in the harbour with a balloon. Very interesting way Dean showed me of fishing with a sliding balloon, because if you fix that balloon on your live bait and he picks you up and he feels that resistance of the balloon, he drops it. Now the thing with the Garrick, as we know, if you're going to fish him on live bait, he picks up the live bait and he removes the scales. He doesn't just swallow it. So you give it a good period of time for him to, normally we used to work on, he runs that first run, he takes the scales off, and then he stops and he starts eating it and swallowing it, and that's, you count to 3 or 4 or 5, and that's when you set your hook. But fishing smaller live bait with a circle hook between the eyes on a cable tie, a Garrick always takes its prey from the head, doesn't take it from the tail like a shad. So having that circle hook between the eyes, a lot of times you just let him take you and you hold on and you tighten up immediately and you hook him up much quicker than having a big live bait where you have to allow him to eat. So fishing carantine and mullet, you can fish a circle hook on the head and you can tighten up immediately. Great fighting fish, and also the gentleman of the sea. He fights on the surface. He's not a dirty fighter like a GT. He won't go for rocks or foul areas to try and cut you off. Lovely fight and a very strong fish. So yeah, that's why everyone's excited about that time of the year.
Direction of the circle hook with the Garrick's also then important with respect to where he takes it from.
Yeah, it must be in the front, sitting proud up like that between the eyes. And then when he takes the head, he'll swim away with it. And just that tension, you never strike with a circle hook. You let it full tension and you just tighten up on your drag, and that tension will be enough to pull that circle hook and set him in the corner of the mouth.
Okay. Will you give us a bit of a rundown of what a terminal tackle looks like for the live bait? Have you got something that you can show us?
Absolutely. I'll do a circle, and then the 2 J-hook trace when you're fishing bigger. When you're fishing a bigger bait like a shad, you can still fish a circle in the front, but you're going to need, I would put a trailer hook on the back. Just for in case, because it's a bigger bait. Sometimes you can just, if it's, I'm saying a small shad, still limit 30 centimeters, but that's a small shad. And you can fish maybe just a single. You'll go in a bigger hook. You'll use a 8090, where on the mullet and the carantines, you'll use a 506070 circle hook. But definitely I'll make a trace there for the guys to have a look at.
Okay, brilliant. Just before we go to that, the rod that you showed there, is that the 11.6 power spin?
Yes, that's the Dawa Saltus 11.6 power spin. Really one of my favorite rods. You can see they made it specifically longer on the butt section for spinning. So it's nice underarm or in your armpit here for spinning. And, you know, just for putting in long hours next to the water, that's exactly what you want. Very nice, light rod, but extremely strong when it comes to pulling power. And that's exactly what you want. Even the Bates Brothers, the BG's, great rods as well.
I've seen that. We also use the power spins up at the Kunene now. We use it for paddle tail on the Cobb. And incidentally, when we used it to cast a bit of bait, I picked up a bronze on that. A small one, but still it gives you a go. But I saw it's got quite a nice pulling power on it. And we're actually doing a review in the next Tightlines coming out on that specific combo with the BG 5000. Really nice combo. You can cast it all day.
Yeah, it's one of those rods I hope they never discontinue, to be honest.
Yeah, well, one of the things is just important on the fluorocarbon leader that you put, just to make sure that the knot doesn't go through the eyes. Just keep it on the outside. Those eyes are a little bit smaller than usual, so you want to keep that leader knot outside.
Yes, that's important. Look, they put very small glides on the actual, because for the last couple of years we only put half a meter to a meter fluorocarbon leader, so you never get the knot into the eyes. But if you're going to fish a longer leader, I advise Kingfisher has got the service where you send it in, you ask them to gauge up your eye size. Like Johan Donald did it for his rod. He prefers taking a longer leader, and he got his rod upgraded by Kingfisher as well, where they put bigger guides on, if that's how you're going to fish. But in general, it's built for that 1 meter leader line.
Yeah, which is brilliant. Okay, to the viewers, click on the link below to see what the rigs look like that André will be showing us. Okay, André, let's talk a little bit further. You mentioned going south and Galjoen season opening up. Tell us a little bit about the Cape waters.
Yeah, that's a very popular species this time of the year. A lot of guys target them, and I was actually very surprised the other day on social media to see that some guys don't realize that's our national fish in South Africa. For years, our previous generations, it was such a popular fish for them in the Cape. Even speaking to my mom, they used to eat Galjoen when they were young and catch them off Robben Island while she was in the prison. My grandfather worked there, but they used to catch them there, and that was part of their food. And even my wife Caroline's mom, coming from Namibia, that was, I won't say staple diet, but was definitely part of their monthly food they had was Galjoen. Now that's reduced because it's such a slow growing fish. I want to actually encourage everybody to just slack off a little bit on how many they keep when they catch them. There's nothing wrong. The regulations are out there, how many you're allowed to keep, and the size limits, stick to that. But when you hit a nice area and there's a lot of Galjoen, such a strong fish to catch as well, lovely fish, and because you're catching it on smaller hooks, it gives you a great fight, and you need to be quite sharp on braid to not bend the hook open or tear it out. But when you get a spot and there's a lot of Galjoen, and you get quite a few, and you know you're only going to eat one, release the rest. It's one of those very slow growing species, like even blacktail, Galjoen black mussel cracker, all those reef residential type fish are very, very slow growers, and the guys must just consider it before they just keep for the sake of keeping. But yeah, getting back to that, also very much a bronze bream type trace you're going to fish. The guys sometimes fish 2 hooks if it's not too foul, if there's not too much rocks. Bronze bream will fish a size 2 hook, where with Galjoen you'll fish a 1.0 and even a 2.0, up to a 2.0. They fish it slightly bigger in the areas in Cape Town. And then red bait, white mussel, there's several baits the guys. Some people like letting their red bait rot before they use it. So everyone's got their little tips and tricks. And worms, remember you need a permit to take to collect any of these baits that you need to get from the post office, a bait collecting permit, and then you can collect some worms as well. Obviously your bloodworm and all of that, it's great baits for Galjoen if you can get hold of them. And yeah, that whole coastline, the water is cooling down nicely, and it's nice, what we refer to washing machine water. The water is stirring up. That's where you can target them. There's certain areas which is sandy, which you wouldn't even think you'll get galjoen, but there's a bit of reef under there, and sometimes you even find them in those churning sandy areas that's bringing up food into the water. When it's washing like that, it brings that food under crustaceans and whatever they're feeding on. It brings it up, and that's where you're going to target them. So look for those areas. And don't stand in one spot. This spot looks great, and cast for them. Move around, try different spots until you get that bite. They've got a very unique bite sometimes that they'll give you a nice, they'll get you all excited, your heart going, and then nothing will happen. They come back. Give it a minute and a half, and they'll come eat your bait, and they'll take it properly. So, you know, just little things you'll get used to for targeting them, but definitely one of the fish you have to catch if you enjoy a strong fight. Really a good fish for its size. And on tackle, same, that power spin 11.6, perfect outfit to use, unless you have to cast very far. Then you'll look at something like the Poseidon Edible, which is a 14-foot rod. Same sensitivity, nice light rod, but it's got the backbone to pull that, and it's a great edible rod for the cob as well. It's that 14-foot, and then if you want to fish just light for the galjoen and you don't have to cast further than 100, 110 meters, that's when you'll just be able to use your 11.6. Very versatile, the power spin.
Let's just talk a little bit conservation. You mentioned on not taking too many, but the tendency nowadays is to use more circle hooks for conservation purposes, but there's not everybody agrees with the efficiency of that. What's your view on circle hooks and smaller type of species with smaller mouths like galjoen and steenbras and those?
Admittedly, it's a bit more tricky landing your bronze bream, galjoen, and fish like that on circle hooks. These guys that's really done it. Emil Bates in Cape Town, one of our ambassadors, he fishes mainly circle hooks for them, and he's had great success on them. Myself, I'm still on a J-hook when it comes to those species. You hardly ever have, and I'm saying this, might happen a lot to other anglers, but I haven't had bronze bream or galjoen where the hook's down the palate to the stomach. It's in its mouth somewhere, the same as what a circle would be, so it's still easy to remove. I don't think, when it comes to bigger species that grabs that bait and swallows it right down, that's where a circle hook really adds value. But people might differ from my opinion there. If you're going to take the time and you can spend the time on them on circle hooks, and make that work for you, that would be better in general, because a circle always sits on the outside here, just on the inside, but in the corner of the mouth, where a J-hook can sometimes go in, but hardly ever where we have, you have to be sleeping for a bronze bream or a galjoen to swallow it. Yeah. Every now and again you'll get one or two, but it's definitely not the tendency for them to swallow the bait.
Okay, so these nibblers that got a bit of a more scallop bite, and you have to be awake, so you generally catch them on the corner of the mouth, yeah, in any case.
Yeah, definitely is.
André, one last thing. During lockdown period, what is the advice from Kingfisher side? What can the guys stay busy with?
Well, I think what I've seen a lot of guys do and what I found myself do, I cleaned my tackle room to start off with. That took 2 days initially. And then I have to still sort through all your old traces, cut them up. That's all money we throw away, guys, is cut up your old traces, clean them up, and what you can still reuse, like your swivels and some hooks rust. Reuse them, have a look at those hooks. Be careful with hooks. I want to just warn you that, yes, you can reuse hooks, barring that they haven't rusted or the point is gone. That sharp point must still be there. You're going to lose fish if you continue. I don't take chances with hooks. I rather use new hooks on my traces, and I've used on my old traces. I cut them off, and when I go to Transkei or to one of those areas, I'll give it to some of the subsistence anglers. Then servicing your reels, guys. We always, the intention is always there to keep your tackle clean and your reels clean. They'll give you much better life if you make that a habit. So get to know your reels. You're at home now. Take that reel apart. There's diagrams of most reels on the internet. Take it apart and have a look, see how that operates, how it puts together, so you can do it more regular, especially for the guys wading. If you take that reel into the sea and it gets salt water every now and again, when you come home that night, rinse it, open it, take all the salt you can find inside, salt water, just a little bit, spray it quickly. We'll do a video later. Hopefully over the next 21 days, we might do one on the channel as well for doing that. Clean it, dry it a bit, let it stand, and then put it all together and get to know your reels, how to maintain them and look after them. And then traces. There's so many places you can find. I mean, reading material, educate yourself now on all the new traces and new things you can do. There's so many videos on our channels, the Kingfisher channel, for anglers, the magazines and all the articles. Okay, find all that information everywhere you can and put it in practice. Practice the knots, practice the traces. I mean, there's so much knowledge, so many platforms where you now can get material that can better your fishing and better your results. That's what you want. So use this time at your interest. Make traces, make knots, look at all the magazine. I mean, there's on the saltwater side, tight lines. Van has got this lovely platform where you can get all the information for anglers as well. There's our ASN channel, there's our Kingfisher channel. That's all full of videos of how to make traces for certain species, how to clean your reels, how to make baits, and take all of that information, put it into practice now. So when you're next to the water, when we can fish again, you can focus on your fishing, not on the preparation, which takes a lot of the time sometimes. I mean, we all know it. You know, the fish are biting and you're 2 hours late because you had to look for your sinkers and you had to look for this and you had to quickly tie traces. Now's your time to actually catch that up and be ready when we can fish again.
Okay, that's great advice. And one of the things that you mentioned earlier was the FG knot. And that's something that I've always shied away because it takes a long time and so forth. And now, while we were up at the Kunene, there were a couple of the national anglers from Namibia, and they showed me a great way how to do that. So my challenge is, well, what I've done, I've mastered it, and I can now do a FG knot in no time. And it's actually so good and so easy if you just do it right all the time. It takes a little bit of attention. So I want to cast out a little bit of a challenge to the guys. Master the FG knot. Go and watch the videos on it. And maybe you can share a couple of those. Maybe if you've never made an FG knot before, video us your very first one, and then spend a day or two on practicing. And then once you've mastered it, video that, and we do a before and after. It will be great to see that. So a challenge to our viewers to go and learn the FG knot. It's really one of the best ones.
I agree with you. Great idea, Werner. I think that's great that the guys should definitely practice that knot. A lot of people shy away because it looks intimidating, but it's like anything. You do it 3, 4, 5 times, it just becomes easier. So use this time to do that. It will be great to see the guys' knots.
Yes, so let's do that. André, thank you very much. Thank you for your time. Go ahead and spend nice time with your family and in your tackle room. I can see that you've got a lot to stay busy with there. And also, good luck with all the videos and everything. I see that you do good work on that, you and the team of ambassadors. So good luck to you. Stay safe, flatten the curve. And to our viewers out there, keep on watching. Every night, between 5 and 6, we're on the line with. And every time there's a new personality and somebody that can share with us. André, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks, Vernon, and all the best for you guys. God bless.